So I want to have a little talk about knowledge and like, as you progress through your career, like you're going to learn more things. And I think as a beginner, I think people think knowledge is like a line chart, kind of like a stock market graph, where like as time goes on, like you learn more and more and you're like more skilled and you have more knowledge. Hopefully your knowledge wouldn't drop off like that. It's kind of true, like your skills and expertise do kind of linearly increase. But I want to give you kind of a better insight into like how you can actually kind of revisualize what this might be if this is kind of your mindset. So knowledge is more of something like a radar graph, right? So you have different things that you're good at and things that you're not good at and things that you need to learn more about. So I kind of like made my own little radar chart for myself and kind of, listed some of these things um, to compare myself to like where I think I should improve in. And again, like it's hard to compare your knowledge to other people's knowledges and like what your skill sets are compared to other people. Some people focus on specialties, right? Some people are just like database engineers or backend engineers. So they might put like a 9 or a 10 here or a 7 or 8 here for backend and databases. Whereas I'm more of like a full stack engineer. So I try to spread out my knowledge to as much things as I can to make myself more valuable in terms of building out a full stack application, right? So I think it's good to kind of convince yourself that like, although you might not be the best in CSS, you might be really good in like UI frameworks like React or Angular, or vice versa. Let's say you're more of a DevOps engineer and you're really good at CI/CD pipelines or doing infrastructure as code stuff, Kubernetes. Maybe you give yourself a higher ranking in CI/CD. I think I kind of gave myself. I know DevOps, I know Terraform, I know like serverless, I know a bunch of Amazon stuff. So it's like I don't really know where to rank myself, a 7, a 6, a 5. But again, this is all like subjective and you're kind of comparing your knowledge against where you were maybe a year ago or where you want to be a year from now. So I think it's good to kind of do exercises like this just to kind of understand like where might you have gaps in your knowledge base? Like where are some things that you can improve on if those are things that are interesting to you? Like if you look here at design, I put like a 3 or a 2. It's like if you told me to like build out a custom website for someone, like I probably couldn't do it. In fact, I think I gave myself too much grace there. I think more of a 2 is more my skill level. But, some of these categories like design, you could build an entirely new radar chart just for UX and design, right? And inside of UX design, there's smaller fields of like things that you might be good at. I don't really know. I'm not a designer, but I'm guessing that you could break down DevOps into many other skill sets. Like Terraform could be a skill set, Amazon could be a skill set, Microsoft Azure could be a skill set, Google Cloud Compute. There's tons of stuff in the DevOps space. So like to rate yourself a 6, in fact, now that I start thinking about it, I'm more like a 4. I only know Amazon, Terraform, and like some serverless stuff. The serverless framework, not serverless Lambda. So like it's always good to just remember that like your knowledge isn't a line chart. Although your total combined knowledge will increase over time, I think it's better to kind of do some introspection and compare yourself using some type of radar chart. I don't know why this keeps on like changing. Just so you have a more realistic understanding, because you might watch a lot of YouTubers online and you're like, oh man, these people are really good at React. They're really good at front end engineering. But then if you ask them like their DevOps skills, they might be like a 1 or a 2 there. They might not have no idea how to deploy their stuff. They might not have any idea how to like actually like monitor or manage their deployed applications. And that's something that you might know more about, right? So don't compare yourself to others because they have a different radar chart. And that's like the great thing about working with a team of people, because you have different skill sets and knowledge and you could both kind of, I don't say both, like your team will basically fill in the gaps where other people might be lacking. Some person might be really, really good at accessibility. Like they might be like a 10 here and they're more of like the accessibility expert. So even though you might not know much about it, you have someone on your team or your project that you can go to and ask questions to help fill in the gaps of knowledge that you might have. Yeah, I don't know why I decided to make this video. I just thought it might be interesting to kind of share my mindset on this. I just had like a random thought about it because sometimes I watch people on online. Like I could add one for like TypeScript. I just started learning TypeScript recently and I feel like I'm a 2 or a 3. And then sometimes I watch people on YouTube and they're like making these TypeScript videos and they know all this like details about TypeScript, how to use like the type of keyword, how to do interfaces, types, unions. I don't know. There's tons of stuff. And then I'm always like, man, I feel like I've messed up by not actually like learning TypeScript from the get-go. But then like you look at this line chart and you're like, well, actually, I'm actually pretty good at a lot of other stuff. So I recommend doing something like this just so you can kind of gauge where you're at and gauge where you might want to improve on. And then also realize the stuff that you just don't care about, right? If you just don't care about CSS, and just delete it, right? If you care really much about Tailwind versus like Chakra UI, maybe give yourself a Tailwind thing. And like that's something you can try to like improve on, engage, and monitor as you're learning. And just compare yourself like, to the past 2 months or 3 months and see, are you improving those skills or are you not? Now, to actually get like analytics to know if you're improving, that's kind of hard to do. That's more of like again, like a subjective thing, but maybe there's some tracking you can do to make sure you're learning more keywords, you're learning more ways to explain these different concepts. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Also, join my Discord if you want to have conversations with me directly or my community. We have a bunch of people who are trying to learn how to code and get jobs as developers. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to join my Discord. Have a good day and happy coding.